This is back strength for the most part. Come up, and then you're gonna bring your feet up, or I'm going to anyway, and then you pull your feet under your chin. And then, hello guys. Just like your body rock fit test, we are going to do a body rock flow test with you today. Something so that you have a gauge of where you're at in the beginning, and then where you're at, say the end of the month. We're going to do 4 basic exercises, postures, yoga moves, and you just want to pay attention to where you're at. So in terms of your flexibility, your range of motion, if there's any tension that you feel in certain postures, that kind of thing. And then later on, you'll be checking in with yourself again. You'll be checking in with your body. You'll be just observing what's shifted for you. So the first thing we're going to do is a downward dog. Hands start actually on your knees. Really spread your fingers apart, push the palms of your hands into the floor. From here, just push up on your toes. Now, a couple things here. You want to try not to round your back. So if that happens, you can keep a little bend in the knees. And don't worry if your heels don't touch the floor. They might, but this is one of the things like you want to pay attention to. So if your heels are off the floor, maybe there's a lot of tension in the backs of the legs, that's what you're gonna be noticing, how that changes. So how your hamstrings open up, that kind of thing. So here, pushing into the floor, you can just relax your head down. Try not to do this way. Just relax your head to a neutral position. The other thing that might happen especially if you're more flexible, you could kind of sink your chest like this. I always have a tendency to do that. You want to try not to do that. So your back is flat. Is my back flat, Freddie? I don't want to do it wrong.
It looks good.
Good. So your back is flat. You're sinking into the heels as much as you can. So when in this first flow test, you would just be noticing whereabouts your heels are, whether you can straighten your legs, whether you have to keep a bend in your knees.
So if you're a beginner, it's okay to bend the knees a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So if your back is rounding like this, you might have to keep a bend in the knees, no problem. And then just keep thinking of pushing the heels back, lengthening through the spine, through the neck. Cool.
How long should we hold that?
A good idea with downward dog is maybe 5 breaths. So you would be inhaling and exhaling 5 complete cycles.
Cool.
Okay. Next one, actually stay in your downward dog. We're going to move into pigeon. It's a great opener for your hips. So with your hands like this, you're just going to bend or bring your right knee towards your right wrist. So ideally, in a perfect world, this hip, your right hip for example, would be touching the floor. That may not happen for you yet. So if your hip is tight, if your glutes are tight, I didn't mean to be grabbing my own ass there, but just want to make sure you know what I'm talking about. So this area, if it's tight, your butt might not come down to the floor. So what you may need to do is put something there.
We don't have anything. Like a pillow or something, right?
Yeah, so you would have like a blanket or a... This is just to show you. This is too big. Don't get something this big. But you could have something to rest your hip on so that it's not just in the air like this. Okay? So you could put something there. Maybe even the sandbag would work. I'm not sure because we don't have it right here this second. But anyways, then you would be eventually coming forward. So if you can't get the hip down yet, notice that. And eventually you'd be working just to get your hip to the floor. That's the kind of thing you want to be noticing with this one. If you have your hip down right away, you could start to move forward. So notice at the beginning of the month, maybe you're here, and maybe towards the end, you're here, 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 maybe even right down here. Really feeling it through this whole hip. Externally rotating the hip, really good for releasing the glutes.
Let's take a look at it from the front.
Yeah. So let's do the other side. So left, if you were doing the left leg, left knee towards the left wrist. So this leg is back. The other thing that might happen is this hip might not come down towards the floor. So that's okay, you may need to hold, you may be twisted like this. So you're trying to get the left hip down and the right hip forward. So the hips are in one line, and then you would be coming forward from there.
Okay.
Is that pretty clear?
So for complete beginner.
Complete beginner, you're probably going to need to put something under here so that your hip is supported, and you may, and then from there, you would just be trying to bring your right hip forward. You could keep your hands here to help you to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. The other good thing is, a good idea would be is if you have any pain in your knee, or if you have trouble with your knee sometimes, put something under that knee too. So on the leg that's extended back, just put something to support your knee that's touching the floor. So it's not too much.
So 5 breaths again for this one?
Yeah. For sure. The longer you stay, the more you're going to release generally. So you want to be surrendering with this one. You're not pushing into it. So the next thing we're going to do is a forward bend. This posture specifically is taken from Yin Yoga, and I call it, or it's called dangling. So for this, you're just going to hang down towards the floor. So your hands might come to the floor. You know, they might not yet. If there's a lot of tension, strain down the backs of the legs, you might want to keep a bend in the knees here. Just observe where your hands are. So when you start, your hands might be here. Notice that. So you would clock, for example, at the beginning of the month that, oh, okay, my fingers are at my knees. And then maybe by the end, you're 2 inches below your knees, that kind of thing. Eventually coming fingertips to the floor, maybe even the whole hands could come to the floor. So that's a forward bend, a passive forward bend, releasing the whole back side of the body.
What's the full extension of that? Like how far can you go?
To the floor?
Yeah.
Maybe the forearms? Yeah. Forearms, I guess. Next, back bend. So really gentle. You want to keep your legs firm, okay? Keep your butt tight. That offers support for your lower back. Always in every back bend you do, not collapsing. Don't worry about how deep you're going. Think of lengthening as you're reaching back. So here, your glutes would be tight. You're going to inhale. Exhale, go back as far as you can, and then breathe normally through the nose. Maybe you're here at the beginning of the month, maybe you're here at the end of the month, or wherever else you are. Just notice how far you can go back, maintaining your breath. If you contract your face, if you hold your breath, if you start cursing my name in your head, you're going too far. So just find that place where you can hold it and breathe, and again, from there, things will start to expand.
Cool.
Okay? So as you go through the month, if you find you need more guidance, if something wasn't clear, we're really testing this out this month, and we want to hear from you for sure. We want to hear what's working, what's not working, what you found easy to follow, what was challenging. So please let us know, because we're testing this out too, and we're trying to grow, and we really want it to be great for you guys. So definitely give us your feedback with this stuff. There will be instruction for each posture, for each sequence that we do on the site, and we'll answer your questions if you have some too. Hopefully, I always say when I'm teaching class that yoga is like watching your hair grow, and it is slow, but it is sure. So be patient with this stuff, but trust it. For sure, your body will open up. You're going to start to feel hopefully more energy, maybe even a little bit more open in different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all respects, really. So do this stuff, and try to do it every day if you can. With anything that we're doing that isn't strength-based, any kind of flexibility posture, the longer you hold, the longer you stay there focusing on your breath, focusing on releasing, the more things will open up. So the longer the better in anything where you're in a position of surrender. So if you're on the floor, if you're relaxing into something. So always just keep that in mind too. And also, this stuff is going to help your body rock workouts. Definitely be aware of that. Note that you're going to increase your range of motion, and it's going to be helpful even in terms of in a lot of your strength-based moves. So strength and flexibility, balance, yoga, balance, it all kind of works together. I love back bends. Back bends are my favorite of all the yoga postures. This is called full camel. So you just stretch up, inhale. Grab your feet, or your shin. Feels good, believe it or not. Is that crazy? Doesn't feel that crazy to me anymore.
So, can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into yoga? Because I know you were going through a bit of a hard time when you found it.
Yeah, well, the very first time I took class, a friend actually brought me, and I went. I sweat a lot. It was a Bikram class. It's one of the styles that I teach. It's the kind that made me fall in love with yoga. And yeah, I just went and I loved the class. I did it for many months just for the physical enjoyment of it. It was a kick-ass workout and I liked that about it. The Bikram style is pretty intense, so it kind of matched my personality as I like things that way. But then after that, it became something really different for me for sure, which is often how it is for a lot of people. Often people start with a goal that's very physical, like increasing your flexibility or getting a little stronger, that kind of thing. And then it can kind of morph into something metaphysical, so something of an emotional or spiritual nature. And for me, I lost my dad actually. He was really amazing. He was the closest person in the world to me in many respects. I had grown up with him and spent, anyways. He actually suffered from depression for most of his life, as long as I remember, and was an amazing, brilliant man. He was an emergency physician, a brilliant doctor. A million people loved him all over the world, but it wasn't quite enough. He was ill, and often depression is something that I think it gets scorned a little bit. Mental illness, it's not fully accepted the same way as if somebody has cancer or heart disease or something like that, if it's a sickness of the mind. Anyways, he eventually actually ended his own life, and that was obviously very, very difficult for me, and it left me incredibly broken. And yoga really was the thing that helped me to find my breath, that helped to open me up again. I was really introverted, I was really closed. I was spending hours and hours a day kind of just hiding in my apartment for a long time, and then I just started to go to yoga, and I sometimes would finish a class and lay there and get up when the next class started and do another one. It didn't seem to matter, because it was the only thing that was helping me to find my breath. And yeah, so I'm eternally grateful for it for that reason, which is why it's exciting to be able to share it with as many people as I can, because it's a brilliant gift, for sure.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.